Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about when you should give up on a lead. So first and foremost, Neil, with leads, what do you do with them once they opt into your list?
I sell them right away.
Boom. What do you used to do with them?
Well, in theory, this is if you're talking about leads. Are you just talking about what do I do with my own blog?
Well, no. I guess I guess we should establish in this context leads. I think Neil and I, because we both have ad agencies, we are talking about prospects, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about someone who's raising their hand and saying, I want to, potentially buy your service or product or whatever. Those I sell right away. When someone comes in as an email, I don't really do much.
Okay. So same thing. When somebody raises their hand, our sales team jumps in on it. Same kind of deal. So the question now is, when do we actually give up on these people? So Neil, I'm curious, when does your sales team actually give up on someone?
They'll reach out a few times, assuming a call gets scheduled. They go through the normal process. They try to see if they're qualified. Assuming they're qualified, then they pitch them. Assuming they pitch them and it goes well, they follow up and they try to close them. They'll either wait for them to say no, they're not interested, or for them to go radio silent after they reached out 2 or 3 times, and they'll rotate up the type of message that they're sending them to see if they can perk their interest and get them to come back. Yeah,
so same deal over here. I mean, I'll give you a template that you can follow. So what will happen is if a lead reaches out, we'll try to get back to them usually within the hour. Ideally, if you can get them within 5 minutes, get them within 5 minutes. There are studies around that. Just Google inside sales, sales statistics or whatever. But from there, what will happen is we get on a call with them. Let's say they don't do the deal immediately, right? So the follow-up will be the next 3 business days. I'm just giving you a cadence you can follow, okay? So 3 days, right? So it might be 3 days, 3 days, 3 days, right? These are 3 business days, and then the cadence might switch over to 7, 7, 7, 7, and then it might become 14, 14, 14. You get my drift, right? So you're staggering it out because you don't want to keep bugging people over and over. But what I recommend is that instead of just emailing them all the time, instead of being lazy, pick up the phone and call them, because they left a phone number. I'm assuming for most of you, they left a phone number. Call them. Text them. You can switch between calling, texting, and then also even emailing. And believe me, texting does work, and they tend to respond better because most text messages get read by people, and that's actually helped us close a couple of deals.
If you're gonna text them, just make sure you text them their first name ? Because if you text, and this only works if you're doing it the first time. But if I texted Eric ? Most cases he's gonna respond with "Who's this?" and that's when you can get into the conversation. Typically, if your lead isn't active and engaged in the first week or 2, they're not really going to engage with you in the future. That's why Eric said call them within the first 5 minutes. Most sales teams have found that if you call within the first 5 minutes, you can close double the amount of revenue than if you don't call someone within the first 5 minutes. That's why he's saying you should try to do that. It's hard for most businesses. The other strategy, if you're not able to get a lot of leads engaged and you have way too many and they're just like skipping out, not participating on the calls, or even not showing up for the calls, consider warming them up first. I'm not saying that means you should send them 5 or 6 emails to warm them up. I'm saying you should do things like send everyone down a path where they watch a webinar first and then get on the phone. Once someone builds a connection with your business or a personal brand, they're much more likely to show up. Our acceptance rates from a lead from a webinar are 100%. So anytime someone watches one of our webinars, they turn into a lead, 100% of the time they show up. I kid you not. But they stayed on the webinar for 40 plus minutes before they're able to become a lead. And if someone spent 40 something minutes, then filled out a long lead form, you bet they're going to show up.
Right. So the other thing I'll add around this is that we don't really give up on a lead if they're really qualified, really hot in the beginning. We just put them into nurture, right? You don't give up until they basically tell you to F off. And some deals in our sales cycle have taken like a year or 2 years, and they become some of our best clients. So it just depends on bandwidth. But for us, at least, we don't ever give up. We had a really good lead come in February, and now we're just about to do the deal now. So that's how I think about leads. And most salespeople, when I interview them, for like a job, and I ask them when it's like a trick question. It's like, when you give up, and most of them will say like, we never give up. And that's a response that I like, because you got to have tenacity when it comes to sales. One of our mutual friends, our buddy from Nextiva, he says that their sales team, not even 5 minutes, they measured them on picking up and calling them 1 minute. And they actually look at that metric. That's one of their KPIs. So you want to get hardcore. You have a sales organization like that. Eventually, when you get to that size, sure, do 1 minute.
Yeah, and if you're going to do the 1 minute, just set up the auto dialers, where what it does is it looks on the floor to see which rep is available, and it automatically calls them, and then the rep who isn't on the phone, their phone rings, they pick up, and it connects them right away with that person.
Great. So that is it for today. But if you want to see us do a free live event in Los Angeles, we're aiming for Q1, Q2 of 2019. We need your help getting to 1 million downloads over a 30-day period. So go to marketingschool.io/stats, that's with an S, to keep up with how we're doing. And we need you to rate, review, subscribe this podcast, help spread the love. Even if you just subscribe, left a review, you might not think it helps a lot, but it helps a ton. And we love to see you in person. So help us get to that mark faster. Everybody can make a difference here. And we hope to see you in 2019 live. See you tomorrow.